The Buccaneers are going to say all the right things. Bruce Arians will say all the right things. They'll try to squash the rumor mongering and the idea of melodrama inside that organization. But to me, it's a really tough sell. It's a really tough sell that it was not connected to Tom Brady's whims. That it just so happened to the same offseason, Brady retired, then unretired. That Bruce Arians decided to himself retire right before April. That Brady retires after the season, then unretires, and then that's when Bruce Arians goes into sleep mode. I'm not buying that it was all hunky-dory and this was all on the up and up. The obvious sublining to this is that there was a power struggle and that Tom Brady won it. So Tom Brady has now defeated all 32 NFL teams, including the one that he's currently on. I don't know how you can read this any other way. Bruce Arians says, hey, I was getting older. I don't want to coach forever. I was going to coach maybe one more year anyway. And now I get to hand the keys over to a loyal assistant of mine, a guy that played for me before, a guy that I trust and love, and Todd Bowles, and he gets a winning franchise. And we don't have to worry about Todd Bowles a year from now maybe not getting this job here. He gets to inherit a good team, not a rebuilding team. Which sounds good on the surface. But let me ask you something. Today, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are happily giving the keys to Todd Bowles. The GM, Jason Light. Bruce Arians believes in him beyond a shadow of a doubt, clearly. Ownership signed off on a 5-year extension. But a year from now, they wouldn't have the same belief? Bruce Arians would hypothetically still be in the front office, right? Bruce Arians isn't going to retire from being a senior advisor a year from now. Jason Light is not planning to retire. He's in the middle of his career, so he would be there a year from now. So why today do you believe that the organization supports Todd Bowles, but a year from now they wouldn't? What would happen that would change their mind? Arians brought up, well, Brady gets injured and suddenly we're 10-7. Job would then be open. Why wouldn't the GM and the owner understand that Tom Brady got injured and it's not Todd Bowles' fault? Why would the GM, if he's all about Todd Bowles today, not go to bat for him a year from now, no matter what happened to this season? If he really believed in him as a head coach, what could happen that would unravel all of that? It sounds good. It just doesn't make any logical sense. If that organization believes Todd Bowles is the right guy, they would believe in him today and they would believe in him a year from now. That I always wanted a succession plan. This was a smooth handoff. Why wouldn't it be a succession plan a year from now? That Tom Brady would then retire and then a succession plan would be incomplete? It would somehow break? You have to have Todd Bowles coaching Tom Brady to believe that he's a good head coach? It sounds good. It just doesn't hold water in my mind. And it's just not a coincidence that these things happen. Tom Brady, rumors of in November, frustrated by the loosey-goosey nature of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers locker room. Antonio Brown, who is a Brady guy, Brady brought him in, is cut midway through a game, is told, you're out of here. And Antonio Brown flips out and waves to the crowd and walks off the field. Then the stories get crossed about who said what on the sideline and who blames who. About Antonio Brown, again, Brady's guy. Then the season comes and Rob Ninkovich in the playoffs says, you know what, I could see Tom Brady retiring. And everybody's like, what? What? He's awesome. He's playing great. Brady's also said, I want to play until I'm 45. I'm going to play until I'm 45. He's 44 right now, so one more year. So Brady leads the league in passing, leads the league in touchdowns, is a year shy of his stated goal, is supposedly frustrated with the locker room, and one of his former teammates out of nowhere says he could retire at the end of the year. Then reports come down that he's going to retire before he announces it. Then he retires, and the reasons given by his dad is the media shamed him into it. And Tom Brady stared down the biggest deficit in Super Bowl history and come back. Ice water in his veins, but he's been shamed or scared by Ian Rappaport. Then there's reports that he wants to be traded, perhaps to the Dolphins. And Bruce Arians defiantly says he's not getting traded. Why? Bad business. We're not trading the best quarterback of all time. So there's now this undercurrent. Brady then, within, 4 weeks? 6 weeks of retirement? I'm back. And it just so happens that the day he says he's coming back is the day that he's informed Bruce Arians will step down. That according to the Tampa Bay Times today. Bruce Arians decides not to retire the day after the playoff loss or the week after the playoff loss. Or, let's face it, guys, if he really wanted to keep Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay, you present to him the resignation plan the day after the season ends so that he can't be picked off by another team. The way that Bruce Arians played this, if he just decided yesterday or the last 2 weeks that he wants to retire, he allowed a window of Todd Bowles to walk, to go elsewhere, to be interviewed at other places, to be hired at other places. So he's so intent on a succession plan with Todd Bowles, and yet allowed an entire hiring cycle to go by when Bowles could have been hired elsewhere before deciding. And then on March the 30th, says, you know what? Stepping down. It just defies logic. There was some internal strife, and Brady wanted this outcome. Because Brady's back and Bruce isn't. Now, you can pick the reasons that Brady didn't want Bruce Arians as head coach anymore, that Brady wanted a head coach like Bowles that he had more control over, that Brady felt that Bowles would be a better fit, that Brady's more comfortable, whatever. It's inarguable. Brady wants this decision because the Buccaneers aren't going to play this, will he come back, will he not come back? Remember, they had not even moved on from Tom Brady when he retired. They said, we're keeping the light on for him. Remember, Jason Light said, at the Combine, I'm not going to pressure him into coming back. He knows where we stand. We don't want to close that door. So the moment Brady retired, they weren't even really believing that Brady retired. And today, his head coach is going to submarine him by resigning, and the Buccaneers are going to be scrambling to make Brady happy if he doesn't want Todd Bowles. That Arians would have roped him in. Yeah, no, I'm coaching. Light goes, yeah, Bruce Arians is coaching. Everyone goes, yeah, Bruce Arians, he's your coach. And then on March the 30th, sorry, gotcha, Tom. It's Todd Bowles. We know you hate him. It defies logic. The Buccaneers, when they signed Tom Brady, gave him carte blanche. You call the shots. He did. For whatever reason, this is what Brady wants. Brady got it. This, with everything that happened, do we really believe that these two things are separate?